Jake Paul just got humiliated live and he's flipping out over the fiasco. Jake's secret is out. He's nothing more than a con man, manipulating fans into thinking he's a pro who belongs in the ring. The athlete has been trying to fit in between real pro boxers, but his new fight against Mike Perry just proved that he still belongs on the kids' table. Yeah, that fight was nothing but humiliating for the problem child, and he's dealing with the consequences now. Happens when you're embarrassed on live TV. Boxing legends, trainers, analysts, they're all coming for Jake. These guys are calling him out left and right. Mike Tyson, the legendary champ, said, "He's a showman, not a fighter." Joe Rogan's been on Jake's case for a while now, and he didn't hold back this time either. He basically called Jake a fraud. And let's not forget Michael Bisping, who's always been a hater. He said, "Jake Paul is all hype and no fight. It's like the whole boxing world is united against him. Every win just makes them madder, and they're waiting for him to slip up." Now, let's talk about Jake Paul's fight against Mike Perry. This wasn't boxing. It was more like a glorified sparring session. It went down this past weekend, July 20th, and it was nothing short of embarrassing for Jake. I mean, the guy won, but let's be real, he looked terrible. Perry came out swinging like a madman. He was all over Jake, throwing bombs and landing heavy shots. Jake, on the other hand, looked slow and predictable. His footwork was non-existent, his defense was laughable, and his punches were about as powerful as a wet noodle. Perry was fighting with raw aggression, using his body to create angles and throwing combinations like a machine. Meanwhile, Jake was relying on his reach advantage and basic boxing fundamentals. It was like watching a masterclass in pressure fighting versus a guy who's just learning the ropes. Jake's lack of head movement and inability to counter Perry's attacks were painfully obvious. It's clear that while Jake might have the physical attributes, he's still miles behind when it comes to actual boxing skills. This fight might just be the wake-up call he needs, because if he keeps this up, he's gonna get seriously hurt. The boxing world is having a field day with this one. Everyone's talking about how bad Jake looked. KSI, his old rival, is probably laughing his ass off. I mean, can you imagine the texts he's sending right now? Nate Diaz is probably saying something like, "That's what you get for talking trash." And don't even get me started on Eddie Hearn. He's probably over there popping champagne. The guy's been calling Jake a fraud for ages, and this just proves his point.
Jake Paul keeps mentioning your name. He says he's going to knock you out if he runs across you in Vegas. So are you tuning in and cheering for Tyron tomorrow?
It actually makes sense. I'm 52 years old. I'm in the age bracket of guys he fights. So, yeah, I could see him wanting to fight me.
Get this. Boxing pros haven't had any respect for Jake Paul ever since he entered the boxing scene a few years ago. Yeah, experts have been putting him on a blast for his bad choice of opponents. And this time, they've really had enough. Come on, this YouTuber guy just comes into the sport, starts calling out everybody and their grandmas for a fight in the ring, and acts like he's the king? The fight world is done with Jake. Here's the thing, folks. While Jake Paul brought eyeballs to the sport, real boxing fans, the ones who bleed sweat and dedication in the gym, saw right through the facade. Jake's failure to prove himself against seasoned professionals has turned the entire fight world against him. Let's be honest, his skills in the ring are second to none. Now, I'm not saying he's just a YouTuber throwing punches blindly in the ring, but he's no pro level. Meanwhile, Floyd Mayweather, who has had his own personal beef with Jake Paul, shared his take on the scenario too. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's levels to this sport. Jake needs to understand that he's not at the top level yet. Money Mayweather likes to stay out of the drama as much as he can, but he couldn't keep his opinion about Mike Perry versus Jake Paul to himself. This epic clash has everyone talking due to the overhype and Jake's poor performance in the ring. It's like the whole boxing community is united against him right now. Every boxing analyst, every retired champ, and even current fighters are piling on. They're saying Jake has no business being in the ring with real fighters. They're calling him a disgrace to the sport. Some are even questioning if he should be stripped of his boxing license. It's a full-on roast, and Jake is the main course. Now, here's the thing. Our guy Jake is an influencer boxer at best, so he had his work cut out for him. Yeah, the problem child has only ever fought retired NBA players or MMA stars and hasn't really proven himself against a seasoned pro yet. I know he has impressive knockouts, but do they even mean anything when Jake has only fought washed-up athletes in the ring? On the other hand, we've got Mike Perry. He's not only a UFC veteran with an impressive record of 14-8-0, but this guy is a bare-knuckle brawler. Yeah, The bare knuckle fighting championship is where he truly shines, and this dude is a freaking beast on the canvas. So you can only imagine what happened when these two stepped into the ring together. We need to understand the fundamentals here. Perry is a pressure fighter. He walks you down, throws heavy shots, and doesn't stop until you fall. Jake, on the other hand, is more of a counterpuncher. He relies on his reach and speed to pick his shots. But against a relentless forward mover like Perry, that strategy doesn't work. Perry's constant pressure forced Jake to fight on the back foot, and it exposed his lack of defensive skills. Every time Perry landed a clean shot, it was clear that Jake was in over his head. It's like watching a kid try to play basketball with LeBron James. Sure, the kid might score a few points, but it's obvious who's the real deal. Jake's past opponents have been carefully selected. Retired MMA fighters, basketball stars, and other celebrities. But Perry is a different beast. He's a professional fighter with years of experience in combat sports. The gulf in skill between the two was obvious to anyone who watched the fight. The internet, as always, did not disappoint with the reactions. I mean, people were losing it. From the moment that first bell rang, Twitter was on fire. "Jake Paul is a fraud," one guy tweeted, and I couldn't agree more. Another fan said, "Mike Perry just taught Jake Paul a lesson in humility. Preach." It's like everyone's been waiting for this moment for years. The once untouchable YouTuber turned boxer was finally brought down to earth. And let me tell you, the memes are already legendary. We've got Jake Paul crying, Jake Paul running away, Jake Paul getting knocked out, the list goes on. Jake Paul is in tears after the whole fight world has launched a verbal smackdown on him. The problem child's boxing career is crumbling faster than a TikTok trend. Remember when everyone thought he was the next big thing? Yeah, those days are officially over. The fight world has caught on to Jake, and pros are exposing him for posing as a real boxer. The boxing world is roasting Jake Paul harder than a burnt marshmallow, and let me tell you, it's getting spicy.
And it goes back to like people just like attacking Jake Paul and like wanting to see me fail.
Now, Perry's main goal in the ring was to ruin Jake Paul's upcoming, highly anticipated clash of the eras with Mike Tyson. Yeah, that's the whole reason why the Platinum Princess ever stepped into the ring with Tyson. Perry was hoping to send Paul crashing onto the canvas to ruin the chances of him fighting Tyson. He revealed in an interview with Michael Bisping, "I'm trying to ruin that whole thing for him. See if they offer it to me after I knock Jake out and be like, hey, do you want to fight Mike Tyson on Netflix? That's the real win here if I can stop that. But I don't want it to hurt Mike's pockets either." Well, he didn't send Jake crashing onto the canvas, but it looks like he has done the work to ruin the upcoming Iron Mike versus Jake Paul matchup. Yep, you heard that right. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is once again in jeopardy. And this time, Mike's health isn't to blame. These two are set to step into the ring on November 15th, 2024 at the AT&T Arena, or at least they were before Jake's humiliating performance in the ring. Now, after witnessing that dumpster fire against Mike Perry, I gotta say that the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight is looking more and more like a pipe dream. I mean, Mike Tyson is a freaking legend. We're talking about one of the most feared boxers of all time, a guy who could knock out a bull with one punch. And on the other side, we've got Jake Paul, who just got schooled by a guy who's basically a walking meme. It's like comparing a Ferrari to a tricycle. The fans are not buying it either. I've been seeing comments like Tyson versus Paul, that's an insult to Tyson's legacy. And Jake Paul doesn't deserve to share the ring with a legend like Iron Mike. And honestly, I gotta agree, this whole thing is starting to feel like a cash grab more than anything else. Tyson deserves better, and let's be real, the boxing world deserves better. I mean, can you imagine the backlash if Tyson gets in the ring with Jake Paul and actually loses? It would be a disaster. So, is the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight officially off the table? I don't know. But one thing's for sure, it's looking pretty damn bleak right now. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. So there you go, Fight World, that's all I have for you today. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you agree with the boxing pros? Or do you think they're being too harsh on Jake Paul? Fill in the comment section with your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more boxing news. See you in the next video.